Awesome. Okay, so we got 1 billion people, and there's 80% of the world that they can live on, right?
Sure, plenty of room to spread out.
Now, you also think that the flood is what caused all the quote, geologic column.
I don't know if I'd say that. Now, the Bible says when God first made the earth in Genesis 1, it was under water, and then he says, let the dry land appear. That, to me, would indicate there may be some valleys and rivers formed just by the water running off for that first time as the dry land appeared. So there may indeed be a little bit of stratification pre-flood at the time of the formation of the earth in Genesis chapter 1.
What stratification would that correlate to in the geologic column? Cambrian?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think our modern geologic endeavors have been able to determine. Actually, if you look at the history of the geologic column, even the names, tertiary, which means third.
Right.
The early geologists, many of whom were Christians, and who were trying to figure out, they said there are primary rocks, secondary rocks, tertiary rocks, and quaternary.
Right.
The very names themselves. Primary would be before the mountains arose, or before the dry land appeared. Secondary was rocks that were formed during the time of the flood, I believe is the way they had looked at it. I don't remember the details on that. But the names themselves, they had to divide up into 4 regions. Pre-Adamic rocks, pre-flood rocks, rocks formed during the flood, and rocks formed since then. Rocks are forming today. So that's why they picked those 4 names. They had 4 divisions to the... it was all biblically based. I think they were wrong on their time frames. They thought it was millions of years.
Okay, well, this is getting a little bit off track from where I'm trying to go. Okay, so you got 1 billion people, you got all these places they can live, you got a flood coming, kill them all. Why don't we find them?
Well, quite a few fossils have been found. Marvin Lubenow says about 4,000 human fossils have been found.
What layers?
I don't know. Quite a few different layers. His book, Bones of Contention, is excellent on this topic. And he goes through the problems that evolutionists have with them being found in the wrong layers, to match their theory.
But okay, you think there's no pattern, so shouldn't the humans that lived before the flood be all over the geological column?
No, that's not true that Dr. Hovind says there's no pattern, just for the record. Because you do agree that there is some sorting based on density and things like this. So that if there is a pattern, it will be by different types of factors than you have in mind.
I think there are 5 or 6 things that can cause patterns other than evolutionary progression.
That was one of the things that actually first... do we have a break coming up? I think I misheard something. What's going on? Okay. That was one of the first things that the geologists realized, was that the rocks and the strata and stuff weren't sorted by density.
Well, that's why I said there are 5 or 6 things that can cause sorting. Density is one of them.
Density is the most important.
Oh, no. I've got this little glass thing in our museum, 2 pieces of glass with 2 different densities of sand in between.
Yeah, I've seen those.
When you flip it over, it does not form 2 layers with the densest at the bottom and the lightest on top. It forms hundreds of layers. Dense, light, dense, light, dense, light, dense, light. You can buy them at the mall for $6. So it is not true that density is the only thing that forms. Density is a factor that's involved.
Well, I didn't say it was the only thing. It's the most important thing.
Stratification happens based on this particle size, particle resistance to water, fluid dynamics. Density is certainly one. But see, here's the problem.
Particle size is basically analogous to density, so it's almost the same thing.
No. Particle size is not similar to density. An elephant,
concept.
An elephant may weigh a ton, and a little bitty chunk of lead may weigh a ton. Elephant's much bigger, and so density is unrelated to particle size. Density is a product of mass and velocity, not mass and volume. Mass and volume. Okay, so why are so few human fossils found? If there was a flood that took, say, 6 months to kill everybody, which I think probably is what really happened in the time of Noah. I don't think
Did you say it rained for like 40 days, 40 nights?
Well, that's the 40 days and 40 nights, but the water kept coming up for 150 days because most of the water came from inside the earth as the fountains of the deep broke open. Psalm 24 and Psalm 136, both teach that God created the earth with water in the crust of the earth, which, by the way, there still is a huge amount of water in the crust of the earth. Otherwise, we could not have sub-oceanic hot water vents. That water's coming from down lower. So the pre-flood world had most of the water in the crust of the earth, and it probably took 6 months to kill everybody, which means it's going to be highly unlikely that we will find human fossils, since they would be being smarter, tend to survive longer and end up on top where they rot, like the buffalo that we killed out west, 100 years ago.
But you also say that there are rock layers like Cambrian that are higher up.
How do you know it's Cambrian?
You said that.
Okay. Would you say that there are places on planet Earth, right here in America, where the Cambrian rock is at the surface?
That's what you said. I'm just quoting what you said.
Okay. Well, I can show you from the National Geographic Atlas. Yes, they've got whole sections of America where they think the Cambrian is right on the surface.
Yeah. So why aren't there hominids there?
I don't know.
This is the problem. Creation science doesn't explain anything. If I ask you why, you'll say, I don't know.
At least I'm honest, because I don't know. Do you know?
No, it fits perfectly with the evolutionary theory. It's not something I have to explain. It's already explained. It shouldn't be there.
Well, he's already told you that humans are a very dynamic subject. I mean,
once they're dead, Jonathan, it's not going to matter how smart they are.
Okay, no, I know that. But once they're dead, it does matter how fast they're buried. If they're going to float around and rot, then that does matter, and you know that.
And if they die later in the flood, they're less likely to be covered. But see, you're missing the point. How do you know this rock is Cambrian? You would say because there are no humans in it. Oh, see, no humans are found in Cambrian.
Well, for the record, you were reading from the book, Dr. Hovind, the Atlas book. They were saying it's Cambrian, and his argument was, how do they know it's Cambrian? And that's what he asked you before.
They know it's Cambrian because there are no humans in it. And then guys like Jared say, well, see, there are no humans found in Cambrian rock. Well, that's how they classify it.
That's not what defines Cambrian.
That's how they It is, too. They classified it as Cambrian by the types of fossils it contained.
No, let's be very careful. You do not define a fossil layer by what it doesn't have. You classify it by you discover what it is according to what it does have.
That's what he just said, the fossils that are in there.
Okay.
There's a stickiness to this.
All right. Well, that's been 20 minutes. We got a bunch of folks waiting here. We need to probably limit it to something like that. But watch my video 4, if you haven't got that far yet, where I give quote after quote after quote by evolutionists that you should respect who say the whole geologic column is based on circular reasoning. Rocks date fossils, fossils date rocks.
Can I have 5 more minutes, maybe?
How about 1 more minute? Give us a closing comment here. I've got a break in 1 minute anyway. That's why. But go ahead.
No, it's okay. What I want to talk about is going to take longer than that.
Oh, call in. I'll be on tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Hey, thanks a lot. All right, Jonathan, I'm looking at Glencoe Earth Science book, 1999 edition, page 352, where it says, 358, where it says, finding particular fossils indicates the age of the rock in which they are found. Okay? When you look at page 325, on 358, it says, you determine the age of the layers by the types of fossils that are found. The age of the layers determines the age of the fossils. Here we go. 1, the fossils determine the layers. The next, the layers determine the fossils. Circular reasoning. Break time. We'll be back in a minute.